Hello. Thank you for joining our webinar this afternoon. I'm Erica Stacey from Scout Digital Training, and I'm really excited to have a chat to you about SEO. It's a topic that I am very passionate about and have been working in this area for about 10 years now. So it has changed a bit during that time, but there are some fundamental best practices that go into SEO, which I love being able to share with people. I think for marketers or business owners or anyone who's responsible for managing a website, it's really beneficial to understand how search engines work and the things that you can do to make your website as search engine friendly as possible. So the things we're going to be going through today, it doesn't look like much, but in an hour, we're going to be just chatting through about what SEO is. I'm going to be explaining how search engines work. I'm going to be giving you an understanding of what Google wants, because as the dominant search engine, it's good to understand what Google's looking for, because if we can make Google happy, then generally our website does perform well in search results. I do want to touch on white hat versus black hat SEO, because a lot of people aren't familiar with those terms. It's a bit of an industry jargon lingo term, and whether you're doing your SEO yourself or looking at outsourcing it, it's an important thing to understand. And then I'll just be chatting about the different types of SEO techniques, and there'll be more of a focus on just some high-level recommendations for identifying keywords and content optimization that you can do with your own website. So first of all, when we talk about the concept of SEO, of optimization optimization in regards to SEO, the exact definition is the action of making the best or most effective use of a situation or resource. So in this case, we are making the best use of our website so that it will respond to the right people at the right time in search results. Now, this idea of making the best or most effective use is really important, because another thing to understand with SEO is while we have all of these best practices, you might not be able to apply them all to your website or situation. So it's important to know what they are, but it's also important to know what you can and can't control as well. So I know a lot of people who often get caught up in, I can't do this certain thing, I can't do this, I can't do that. It doesn't mean you can't optimize your website. It just means that particular technique might be too challenging for you, or might be one that you cannot focus on. So in that case, look at what you can do. Focus on what we can do, recognize what we can't do, know the difference, and make the best use of our situation. So the thing that I do also want to remind people, and I'll be harping on about it a lot, is that while there is this idea that we can make websites rank #1 on Google over the weekend, it's not necessarily possible. So even when you're following SEO best practices, some websites can see positive results very quickly. Other websites take a really long time, and that's because every website and every person's situation is unique. So while we have a website, we are all focusing on search engines, the actual size of our website, the age of our website, the construction of our website, the content of our website, the competitive nature of our industry. There's so many variables, so it's really not possible to say how long it's going to take to optimize a website. I've seen some websites that have gotten really positive results within a couple of days of making some changes, and I've worked on other websites where it's taken months and even years for us to secure and retain those number 1, 2, 3 coveted spots on the first page of Google. So it is a long-term marketing effort, and again is why I recommend having a really good understanding of the fundamentals, because in that situation where you are responsible for making updates to your website, adding new content, you can be optimizing as you go and factoring best practices into your general website content and general website maintenance, rather than feeling like I need to sit down now and optimize my website. The other consideration is things change all the time on the internet, and your website could be ranking really well in search engine results, it could be really well optimized, and then all of a sudden a new competitor spends a lot of time and energy in optimizing their site, and they outrank you. So it's a constant process of being mindful of what we can control and making the best use of our website and monitoring results so that we don't all of a sudden realize we've disappeared off the rankings. So what is SEO? SEO is, there's lots of factors to SEO, but to try and summarize it quickly, it predominantly is based on identifying relevant keywords, because keywords are still very fundamental to the search process and is how people are connected with our website. So identifying those keywords, using those keywords throughout our website, making technical and other website updates, because it's not just all about the keywords and the content. And the overall aim is to improve our search engine rankings. So we are optimizing for search engines, SEO, and we want our website to appear higher in the search rankings for relevant keywords so that people can find our website, come to our website, and hopefully read our content, buy our products or services, inquire more, whatever the goal is that you want of people coming to your website. I should mention that while I am focusing on website, a lot of these best practices can be used across other platforms as well. So things like using keywords in your social media channels can be useful for optimizing them for search. There are a lot of specifics you can get into in regards to local search optimization, but again, having that basic understanding of the relevant keywords so you can use them in all of your online platforms can be really useful as well. But today we're mainly talking about websites. So to really understand SEO, I think it's really valuable to understand what Google's mission is. And Google as a company has publicly shared their mission to organize the world's information and make it universally accessible and useful. So this is what Google's goal is with their search engine. They're trying to categorize, first like index, categorize, and organize all of the information that we provide it on the internet and provide the best results to people at the best time. So we've got to keep that in mind with everything that we're doing. And I often say this, rather than just trying to get the best result, we actually want to be the best result. So you want your website and your content to be the best that it can be, so people actually want to read it as well. It's not just about the search engines, and we have that balance with users and search engines, which I'll talk about more. So Google do also provide a lot of really helpful information about SEO as well. I won't go into detail with this, but it's important to recognise that they acknowledge, while they don't personally help people optimise their websites, they do have a lot of great resources and information. But one of the important things that I do like to share, hopefully you can see, I think it's slightly covered here, is that they do say on their website that nobody can guarantee a #1 ranking from Google. So if you are working with an optimizer, because there are so many variables and different factors involved, no one can guarantee this ranking. No one has a special relationship with Google. You do not need to pay a fee to submit your site to Google and have it ranked. The organic search engine rankings are purely based on Google's algorithm and the assessment that they make of your website. They also comment on this same page as well that they too receive emails from people telling them that their website is terrible and promising to make them #1, which for anybody who has a form on their website or an email address on your website, unfortunately, we all receive these emails from SEOs and spammers who are trying to generate more work. So it doesn't mean there's anything necessarily wrong with your website, and they can't promise you a #1 ranking. So just a couple of things to keep in mind if you are looking at outsourcing your SEO, because there is a lot of misinformation still, unfortunately, that exists about SEO. So when we are talking about SEO as well, we're talking about optimizing our website's rankings in search engines, which is a great way of bringing traffic to your website. One of the reasons we often focus on getting traffic from search engines is it tends to bring in a new audience for us. So we'll talk about this more in keywords, but your business name is a keyword. So if people type your business name into a search engine and they are looking for you specifically, hopefully your website ranks for your business name and they can find your website. But often SEO and search engines are really useful at finding people who don't know about us specifically, but they're looking for what we offer. So they're looking for information or products or services, answers, tips, videos, all sorts of things that you would search for on the internet as well. They're searching for it, not specifically knowing who has the answer, but knowing they want information about it. So that those generic search terms, which I'll explain in more detail, are really useful at bringing a new audience to our website, and is why we really need to explain quite clearly in our content who we are and what we do, what our products and services are, to try and make that connection and match with people who are looking for what we offer. I will stress though that search engines are only one channel that bring traffic to our website. And you can get traffic from direct traffic, so people who know your website and type it directly into their browser, referral traffic, which is links from other people's websites that link to your website, social media, email ads. There's lots of different ways that people can actually find your website, and search engines are definitely an important one, but they are only one of them. What is good to keep in mind though is a lot of things that we do to optimize our website from a content perspective can also provide huge benefits in other areas of our marketing. So if we are creating a really engaging website with really useful content, there might be how-to content, case studies, testimonials, videos, other resources and guides, blog posts. Particularly this focus that we have on content optimization creates useful information that not only will hopefully attract people in search, but might encourage referral links from other websites. If they think there's a great piece of content or a great answer, they may link to it from their website, which creates a backlink, which we'll talk about as well. You've got great content to share on social media because you can share your case studies and your blog posts and your services pages because you've got really useful information that describes who you are and what you do, which gives you great social content. And that content might also be useful to share in your email as well. So while we are focusing specifically on search engines, there's huge benefits from content optimization perspective that allows you to improve other aspects of your marketing as well. So just to clarify what we're talking about, because I've mentioned the organic search results already, this is just an example of what you might see when you do a search in Google. And depending on the keyword that you're searching for, there may or may not be some paid search results that sit above and potentially below the results on the page. So there can be, and this is going to depend on whether people are actually bidding on that keyword in Google Ads. So you may or may not see those paid ads. What we're talking about from an SEO perspective are the organic search results. And there are 10 of these per page. And when we talk about rankings, we talk from 1 to 10 top to bottom. So the first organic ranking is referred to as position 1. And there are always 10 per page. And depending on how many results there are, and you'll often see at the top of this, you can see that there are about 537,000 results for that particular keyword. And so there are 10 of those organic results per page, going 1 to 10 on page 1, 11 to 20 on page 2, 21 to 30 on page 3, and so on and so on. And these organic search results are governed, are organized, are ordered using Google search algorithm, which I'll explain in more detail. And this is the algorithm that we cannot buy our results on, we need to earn them. So we can buy a high position in paid ads, providing we are spending enough money and we have a good quality ad that's been approved by Google. So it's still not guaranteed. But if you're following Google Ads best practices, you can earn a number 1 position quite quickly. Whereas SEO results do need to be earned in that organic list. And that list can change quite regularly. So the position that your website might appear one day may differ to another day. These rankings do vary all the time. And what makes it even more complex is these rankings are now being personalized to individual users. So we don't all see the same rankings in the same order. They can vary by things like what type of device we're searching on. So if we're searching on a desktop computer versus a mobile computer, it can be based on the physical location that we're searching from. If Google can actually determine where we're physically located, and if it's identified as being a lot more of a local search term, it will show us local search results. And it can also factor in our past browsing history as well. So not all search rankings are created equal, which makes it even more complex these days. So how do search engines work? There are 4 main aspects to consider with search engines. We have spiders, which might also be referred to as crawlers or Google bots, or just general bots. But the spiders are essentially little computer programs that run around the internet, scanning websites and scanning websites' code to get build an understanding of what the website is about, and they send that information back to Google search database. So these little spiders, and it kind of makes sense when you think about spiders and the World Wide Web, they're jumping from website to website, scanning the different pages, and they're doing this constantly, running around, getting an understanding of trying to, as per Google's mission, classify the world's information that we've made available on the World Wide Web. So they then send that information back to Google search database. We then have something, we use a search interface. So for those of us in Australia, it's google.com.au. Obviously, there are other search engines like Yahoo and Bing. Their algorithms do vary somewhat, but a lot of the best practices are still quite similar, and Google do tend to own 90 to 95% market share of the search engine space. So I do tend to focus on what Google prefer. So we would go to a search engine interface like google.com.au from our laptop or mobile and type or speak in a keyword. And then as that process, once that keyword has been entered, the search algorithm, or even before these days, the search algorithm process starts. And this is where Google's algorithm searches through its database and it tries to find the most relevant results and order them in what it believes to be the most relevant and deserving order. So like we saw, it's sorting through thousands of results. With that previous example I saw, it was 537,000 results for SEO course in Adelaide. And I can tell you there aren't that many SEO courses in Adelaide, but according to Google, there's still that many results. And that algorithm, so the algorithm is what decides that order and who deserves. And not sure if you can actually see, and then we actually have the search results. Obviously, the algorithm works in the background and provides those 10 results per page, depending on how many results there are. So that's a basic overview of how search engines work, but really useful for understanding this process of SEO. So how the actual search rankings work. So there are hundreds of algorithm ranking factors used by Google, and these are not shared or publicly known. So there are a couple that Google have actually shared publicly. Generally, the way that SEO works is through trial and error. People have, professional SEOs have understood what factors tend to generate good results, and collectively that has produced this set of best practices that we tend to use. But those algorithms are regularly updated. Google is for 2 reasons. Firstly, Google's mission is all about providing the best information to its users. So it is constantly improving its algorithm to ensure that it's providing the best, most relevant information, most deserving information to its users. It's also updated to try and stop people sharking the system. So unfortunately, the downside of SEO and optimizing your website for search results is that occasionally little loopholes are found where people find they can generate good results quite quickly, possibly using some shady methods. And Google's algorithm is really focused on trying to give the best, most deserving results prominence on those first few positions and first few pages. So they're not big fans of anybody using those shady tactics, and we'll talk about what some of those are later on. And so, like I said, this algorithm is being updated really regularly. There used to be quite kind of occasional large rollout. So you may have heard of things like Penguin and Panda. They usually have names that go along with them and particular focus. And as we go on and technology is moving exponentially, these algorithm updates are often much smaller and happening more quickly. And there are some tools, so SEMrush, which I'll mention later on as well. SEMrush is a tool which actually tracks Google's algorithm updates. And sometimes there can be a bit of volatility in the search results as Google's constantly shaking things up to try and make the search results as fair and deserving as possible. So like I said, there are some ranking factors that we know, and some of these are ones that Google have publicly shared, and some are ones that we have learnt over time. So a couple of the factors just to go through quickly are things like the age of your website. So older websites tend to rank better in search engines because they've been around longer and have developed a greater history in search results. So it can be really challenging for a brand new website to rank and rank well and rank quickly in search engines. So I often speak to people who will go, my website's not ranking for this particular keyword. And there's a few things I check, but one of the things I'll always ask is, how old is it? When did you launch it? And sometimes the answer might be, a couple of days ago or a week ago, in which case, as you know, even though we might expect a website to rank for its brand name, it does actually take some time and it needs to be indexed in the search engines, which I'm going to come back to as well. So older websites tend to rank better, but also an older website that may have become a bit stale. Its content might have become a bit stale. It might not be regularly updated. There might be some new websites in that particular industry that provide better content and a better user experience. They may actually outrank the older website. So there's never one defining factor. That would make it really easy. That's why you've got to understand the algorithm looks at a whole range of factors, and we've got to make the best use of the ones that we can. And kind of coupled with that, consistent domain ownership. So one of the previous ranking factors that used to have some good results was actually having keywords in your domain name and having a very keyword-rich domain name. Google have actually really downgraded how much emphasis that will actually give you in search results. So simply registering a domain name like bestcoffeeadelaide.com.au is not going to guarantee you a #1 ranking for the keyword Best Coffee Adelaide. And the domain ownership kind of comes into play there because there was a bit of a market for buying and selling domains and earning some more, authority on people wanting to buy keyword-rich domains. So some domains would jump around. So Google do actually look for how long a domain has been registered with one owner as well, because again, it shows the longevity of the business or the organisation, as opposed to potentially being a little bit shady. The size of website. The number of pages of a website. So the larger a website is, it tends to rank better. It's not guaranteed, but single page websites can be really challenging to rank for in search engines, particularly if you're trying to cram a lot of content onto one page. So every single page of a website can potentially be indexed by a search engine, and Google like to try and classify each page as being about a particular topic or theme. So having a single page website or a couple of page websites that try to cover lots of information can be really tricky. The quality and the depth of content. So high quality website content, which is quite detailed. So the length of the content as well as the quality does come into play. I could write 1,000 words about Best Coffee Adelaide and it could actually just be very repetitive and quite poor quality content, or I could actually write a very in-depth blog post or page about the best coffee in Adelaide, where you can find it, why it's the best, the history of it, those types of things that is going to provide better quality and depth of content. The quantity and the quality of inbound links or backlinks. So these are the other websites that link to your website, and specifically those backlinks that provide a follow link as opposed to a no follow link as well. So a no follow link doesn't mean the link doesn't work, but it doesn't actually pass on any of the domain authority or endorsement from the other website. So getting a little bit techie, but just something to keep in mind. Previously, the quantity of backlinks to a website was a really easy way of getting your website to rank higher in search engines, and that led to the development of a lot of private blog networks where people were actually just building websites that linked back to other websites, that linked back to other websites, that linked to other websites, and then they would sell that link onto someone, and it would create the illusion of having a large quantity. Well, it wasn't an illusion. There was a large quantity of backlinks. And Google's algorithm in the last, I can't remember what year that was, they did actually flush out those link farms. So they now look on the quantity is still a factor, but they look at how the quality of those backlinks as well. So do they look like the real type of backlinks that you could genuinely earn, that are genuinely endorsing you, as opposed to people just swapping links to try and earn rankings. The frequency of updates made to a website can have a bit of an impact. This is more to do with the relevance and the quality of the content. So regularly publishing new content to your website, it can be beneficial because it brings visitors back to your website often. So things like blogs and case studies and areas that you can naturally add new content to are really good ways of not only adding regular optimized content, but bringing both new and previous visitors back to your website. And having a focus on users, not search engines. So this is a really tricky one because Google does always say, focus on users, don't try and just optimize for search engines. And it's definitely important because at the end of the day, it's the users, or the people. I actually hate the term users because it sounds like we're not acknowledging them as real people. So the people that come to visit our websites, the people that we actually want to enjoy the experience on our website, find it easy to use, easy to find content, read content, find it useful, as opposed to the bots. So the bots are looking at the code. We actually want people to come and have a great experience with our website. And having a clear site structure, text links in your navigation can also be really helpful because it makes it much easier for those bots. So we do need to do something for them, much easier for the crawlers to jump from page to page and index. So there are some known factors, and there's some more that I'll mention in regards to content as well. Another known one that I've neglected to put on this list is that Google have come out and publicly said in the last couple of years is websites that use an SSL certificate or HTTPS. So actually providing a secure experience for browsers. They have said that they will provide a small search engine rankings benefit to websites that have an SSL certificate and a current SSL certificate and use the HTTPS protocol as opposed to the basic HTTP. That's part of Google's it's not their mission, but it's another drive they have at the moment to create a more secure internet experience, because obviously privacy is a bit of an issue. So even if you don't take things like credit card details or personal information through your website, it can be useful to install that HTTPS to provide that security and confidence to your visitors, as well as have an SEO, little SEO boost. It's not a huge one, it's a little one. And there are a lot of hosts these days who provide that as part of their standard service, which is great as well. Okay, mindful of where we're at, a lot to get through. So I actually have the link to this article in the offers section. So have a look below. There's a link to this article. Google actually published this on their webmaster blog back in 2011. So it is actually 8 years old now. But it was published after they did a major update. So there was a major update called Penguin that came out around about this time. And this was when Google actually came out and they publicly were saying to people, stop trying to build websites just for search engines, just focus on users, just focus on users. And it's, even though it is 8 years old, this really struck a chord with me at the time when I first read it. And I believe it has really indicated the direction that a lot of Google's algorithm updates have gone since then. And so it's worthwhile reading this article. I'll read out a little bit of it to it because this is a little snippet, but it starts off with, below are some questions that one could use to assess the quality of a page or an article. These are the kind of questions we ask ourselves as we write algorithms that attempt to assess site quality. Think of it as our take at encoding what we think our users want. Of course, we aren't disclosing the actual ranking signals used in our algorithms because we don't want folks to game our search results. But if you want to step into Google's mindset, the questions below provide some guidance on how we've been looking at the issue. So these are 5 examples of those questions, and the article actually has about 25 different examples. So I definitely recommend reading that article, and the link is below, or you can Google high quality websites, and read through that. So like I said, there have been many changes to the algorithm in the last 8 years, but keeping this in mind, particularly when you're creating content, can be really useful in optimizing and understanding what Google wants. So fortunately, this little animation isn't working, but for those of you who know the Karate Kid and Mr. Miyagi, when Mr. Miyagi is trying to teach Daniel how to trim the bonsai and he says, think tree, I like to think Google. So when we're optimizing or working on our website, we do want to think, what does Google want? And Google is thinking about what users want as well. So for some reason, we seem to get out of our own head sometimes, and we have this idea of what we want people to do with our website, but that's often a very different experience when we're searching, because I'm sure you've been frustrated when you have searched for a particular term, a website's come up, you've clicked on it, you've gone there, and it's actually not relevant to what you were looking for, or it's really difficult to read because they've just been stuffing in the same repetitive keyword, or you're not having a great user experience on their website. So we've got to remember what we as people like and think about what Google is actually trying to do with organizing the world's information and making it universally accessible and useful. And then that can actually help us with our SEO best practices as well. Cool, so a couple of things that we need to look at first of all. Is your website indexed? And this is something that I will always check if people come to me and say they have some issues with their website search engine results, or they're not what they expect. And the first thing you want to do is check whether your website is actually indexed. And I'm going to show you a little tip here. So this isn't going to tell you what your search engine rankings are. It's just going to tell you whether Google even knows that your website exists. Because if it doesn't know that your website exists, or all of your pages aren't in Google search index, then it obviously can't return them in people's search results. So I'm going to jump over to my screen sharing. So hopefully you can see my screen here. So you can do this yourself, and you can do this for absolutely any website. I tend to do it to my own website, but you can go to Google search browser, and instead of typing in your a keyword, you type in site : and then type in what your domain is. So no www, no HTTP. For me, it would be scoutdigitaltraining.com.au. A whole domain, whatever it is that you've registered, whether it's .com, .com.au, and enter. And this will show you all the pages of your website that are indexed. So you'll see a number at the top I've got about 389 results. And it will show you what your actual pages, what the search engine results page or SERP will look like if that page were to appear as part of someone's search result. So unfortunately, the order that these appear don't necessarily correlate with rankings or anything like this. So we're not looking at rankings. We're just going, is my website indexed? So does Google know that it exists? Because sometimes the issue with not returning in search results is that the website itself isn't indexed. So brand new websites might not actually be in the search index yet. Or there might be an issue with indexing your website, and potentially the whole website or all the pages of the website haven't been indexed for some reason. So you might not know exactly how many pages your website has, but if you know it's a decent sized website and only 3 results are showing, it's going to show you that there's a bit of an issue. So that's one little tip to check. The other thing, and I'll come back to this when we talk about optimizing page titles and meta descriptions, is that you can actually see how your particular pages will look if they appear in search results. So what is the page title? What does the link look like? And what does that description look like? And do they give a good representation of your page and of your business? Because unfortunately, when someone searches in Google, they're not going to see a whole page of results just of your website, but they will see, if you're lucky, you might have a couple of pages of your website that are ranked for a particular search term, but you'll be shown amongst other web results. So, and that's another way to check is actually typing your keyword and seeing what other pages, what other websites are ranking for the same term, and how does their result look compared to yours. So I often see some where maybe there is the description is not very descriptive, doesn't really entice people to click on it at all. So this is a good process of going through and having a look at how your website search results look and identifying any pages that might have problems. So are there any pages that should be indexed that aren't? Are there any pages that are indexed that should? That's another discussion. And are there any problems with how your website search results are looking that you could potentially improve as well? So little tick there. Okay, let me jump back to my slides. Alrighty. So I've mentioned this already, SEO is a marathon, it's not a sprint. Depending on your area, you can get some quick results, but this is generally a long-term process. And if you can invest the time in understanding SEO best practices and consistently implementing them on your site, then you're going to have a more long-term sustainable results. Another thing that's important to do is actually check your organic search traffic. So I've had a number of people over the years who have said they want to optimize their website. Turns out they don't actually have any stats on their website, such as Google Analytics. So they don't even know how much traffic they're getting to the website, but they want more. So it's important to know what kind of traffic you're getting to your website already, what portion of that is coming from organic search, and also looking at the behavior of those visitors from organic search, and are they looking like they are quite engaged with your content? So do they have a lower bounce rate? Are they spending a fair amount of time on site? Are they viewing a decent number of pages on your website? Are they triggering any of your goals that you might be tracking on your website? Because with SEO, there are some things we can do that can attract traffic to the website, but if they come and it's not what they're looking for, they're going to bounce off straight away. They're not going to be spending their time there. They're not going to be valuable. So it's not just about getting the best result, but it's actually about getting the best traffic to your website, and those people who really want what it is that you offer and who are going to stick around, read your content, buy your product, inquire about your service, book, whatever it is that you do. So the quality of that content's really important as well. Okay, SEO best practices. I've only got 20 minutes left. I'm going to try and be quick on this. Broadly, we can look at optimization as a couple of techniques. So there's content optimization and technical optimization. They can also be referred to, and these slightly overlap, as on-site SEO or on-page SEO. And off-site SEO. So on-site SEO or on-page SEO are things that you can do on your website to improve search rankings. Off-site SEO are things that you can do not on your website to improve search rankings, so often related to things like backlinks. But we're going to focus more on content optimization. So this is all about knowing relevant keywords, using relevant keywords throughout your website, regularly publishing relevant, high-quality, optimized content. So if you're responsible for the content on your website, it's really valuable to understand these content optimization techniques. Technical optimization takes into account things like site structure, so how the sections and pages of your website are ordered and how easy they are to navigate and to crawl. The actual code of your website, so whether or not your website is well built from a code perspective, or if it's built it might look nice from the outside. I always use the analogy of a house. So houses can actually look really nice from the outside, but you don't always know what's behind the walls. Is it solid brick, or is it just plaster over chicken wire and paper or that kind of thing? So it's about having a well-built website, which is difficult for those of us who don't write code, but it's important to know that it can be a factor. Site speed, so fast loading sites tend to rank better in search results because they give a better user experience. And I'm sure you don't like waiting for websites to load either. And there are some things that you can do to improve your website speed, particularly in regards to images. We have an article in the blog of our site at the moment all about optimizing with images as well. That's worth looking at. And then things like internal links and backlinks kind of fall into technical optimization. So I mentioned white hat and black hat SEO. So white hat SEO is all about the good things that you can do that Google's happy with you doing to improve your website in search results. So it includes things like using relevant keywords throughout your content, making use of your meta tags, which is your page title and your meta description, making sure you're producing quality content and focusing on getting quality backlinks. So these are all the good things that Google's happy for you to do. There are also what's referred to as black hat techniques. So these can be things like keyword stuffing, which is like really awkwardly repeating the same word or phrase over and over and over again in your content, which makes it really challenging to read. Things like link farming, which is where you might be, part of one of those private blog networks or getting lots of cheap, nasty links back to your website. Using things like hidden text on your website, so trying to smush extra keywords into your website by doing things like, black text on a black background that visitors can't see, but search engine spiders will actually pick up. So the algorithm is very, very smart and it's picking up these types of issues. And things like blog and content spam. So hopefully no one will be doing any of that kind of stuff. All the techniques I teach are purely white hat, but it's important to know because unfortunately there are some SEOs out there, if you're looking to hire, who may be using some shady techniques to get some quick results. So my advice is always, if you are working with an SEO, then you should ask them exactly what it is that they are doing. And if they tell you things like, it doesn't matter, don't worry, leave that to us, or can't give you a list of what they're doing, that would be a bit of a red flag for me. And also if they're explaining anything that, are any of these type of things, like they're telling you that they're keyword stuffing or link farming or hidden text or anything that just makes you feel a bit icky, that's probably a sign they're not for you as well. But there are a lot of awesome professional search engine optimizers out there as well that focus on white hat techniques and sustainable results as well. So keywords. Keywords are the terms or phrases that people type or speak into search engines when they are looking for something, and they are absolutely fundamental to the search process. So often these terms and phrases are used to describe our organisation or our offerings, and they may be branded, so they may be our business or organisation name, or they may be generic, they may be location-based, and more often than not, they tend to be phrases as opposed to an individual word. And this is referred to as long-tail keywords. So there's, just like we had spiders and bots and crawlers, we also have keywords, key phrases, long-tail keywords, lots of different phrases that really relate to the same thing. So as an example, you might have, these are two examples of keywords. So accountant, which I can promise you is a very challenging keyword to rank number one for, because it is very generic. Or you could focus on a more specific keyword like small business accountant in Adelaide. And that would be referred to as a long tail keyword. So long tail keywords tend to have less search volume. So there are less people that are searching for them, but they're often much more specific and a better match if you are a small business accountant in Adelaide. So rather than trying to aim for something very broad and generic like accountant, it's really great to identify exactly who you are and what you do and try and connect with the right type of people where there's potentially less competition than trying to compete with a very big generic word like accountant. So it's important to do your research and understand what keywords you want to focus on in your content. And it's always good to start with the keywords that you think are relevant. So most people have an idea of what they think they want their website to rank for, or that they're disappointed that it's not ranking for already. And it's good to spend some time brainstorming and thinking about what those words are. But it's also really important to speak to other people and do some further research. So ask your customers, ask your relevant target audiences, if you were looking for what we do, how would you search for it? Because we often get very stuck inside our own heads and we might use particular industry lingo or jargon that the regular person, even if they are part of our target audience, that they wouldn't necessarily use. It's really important to ask them. You can also use, Google has a free tool called Google Search Console, which shows you which queries your website is actually ranking for already. So you can sign up for that. If you Google Search Console, you'll be able to find and verify that. It just needs a Google account. Really good to do that with the same account you use to log into with your Google Analytics, and to also connect the two of them as well. There's some valuable information around that. I'll have to actually do another webinar on Google Search Console because I talk about it all the time. And then there's other keyword research tools you can use. So there's a couple of free tools or tools that have some free plans available. So things like keyword.io, kwfinder.com, or even using Google search predictions. So when you start to type a keyword into Google, you'll see that it actually comes up with other suggestions as well. And they are other suggestions that people have actually typed into Google related to the keyword that you're starting to type. So it's good to understand the exact terms that people are actually searching for. And there are lots of other tools. Another one I use is called semrush.com. It only has a paid plan, whereas KW Finder has a free plan as well. And the great thing about these types of tools is they don't only show you the keyword that you're looking for, but they show you related keywords. They also show you the search volume, so the average number of times that keyword is being searched for per month in Google. So this is real valuable data, and how competitive that keyword is based on other websites. So I do recommend KW Finder. I'll jump over to my screen share again just to demonstrate this. And there's a link to KW Finder in that offers section underneath at the bottom of the screen as well. So KW Finder will actually allow you one free keyword search per 24 hours without signing up. There is a free plan. If you scroll like way down the bottom, it shows you all the paid plans first. But there is a little free account which allows you 5 lookups in 24 hours. So this is a good one to use if you are wanting to do a little bit more research. But I'll just show how we could look at this. So it could be something like best coffee. What's great is it does actually give you a location search, and this does actually go down to particular cities, not just states as well. So I can say, I want to get some information about people searching for best coffee in Adelaide. And I could leave it as any language, but my website is all written in English, so I'm going to focus on English. I click Find Keywords. And it's not going to give me any results. I didn't test this before because I knew I was only going to get one free one. But I'll show you this. Anyway, so sign up for that free account. But what it will generally show you is a list of keywords, not just best coffee, but the other keywords that people are actually looking for. Because I might think people are searching for best coffee, but they might be searching for the most amazing coffee. So we can see things like the number of searches in the last 12 months per month, the average cost per click people are paying for it in Google Ads, the keyword difficulty, so how difficult it's going to be to rank for. And that way you can actually go through and not just get some validation on the keyword that you're focused on, but find other keywords that might be relevant or even more relevant based on how many people are searching for them. So it's really important when you're trying to figure out which keywords to focus on to look at really relevant keywords. So keywords that are relevant to what you're offering, that tend to have a high search volume and ideally a low to medium competition. And you want to develop a range of keywords as well. So we're not just about getting one keyword, best coffee, and using that all through our website. Google's search engine algorithm is really smart, and they're factoring in a lot of machine learning and bits and pieces these days. So they can also, as well as looking through the content and the keywords that you're actually using, they have that understanding of semantic language, so related keywords to that field. So there's lots of different words related to coffee: best coffee, amazing coffee, takeaway coffee, latte, espresso. All these different keywords are related to that topic that are actually make it a lot easier from a content optimization perspective, because we can use a range of natural keywords throughout our content. So I'm really big on grouping similar keywords into topics, because there's nothing scary than having a list of 120, 200 keywords and then going, I don't know what to do with all these keywords, but rather having a group of related keywords and then trying to focus a particular page or particular post optimization on that single keyword topic. So you might already have particular product groups or service groups, which make it really easy to group keywords by topic or theme. Or if your website's really well structured, those keyword groups might actually follow those structure of your pages. So this is a little table I use. We might look at general keywords. So with what we offer at Scout, we generally offer digital marketing training in Adelaide, and then we specifically offer different types. So then I could go through and do that research process to build a list of keywords that are related to those different topics that allow me the opportunity to use these keywords in different ways. So usually there will be one main keyword, so the one that has the most searches or is the most relevant, and that's the one we will primarily focus on. But it's great to have these extra keywords that we can use more naturally through our content to keep reinforcing what it is that we do, but explain it in a slightly different way that gives both the search engines a bit more information about who we are, but also sounds a lot more natural to those people who are visiting our website as well. The other thing that keyword research can do is give you some really great ideas for what type of content people are actually looking for based on what they're searching. So while you can see here some search terms like how to rank better in search engines and how to improve website rankings, they might not necessarily be people who are searching for training, but it lets me know these are the types of things that people are searching for, and I could create some blog posts about those topics that provide some useful information to people who then may end up doing some training or may not, but otherwise I've brought some relevant people to my website. Okay, so how do we use keywords? This is a really high level quick look at, once you know your keywords, how you can actually use them. But if we're looking more broadly, these are the main ways that we look at. And again, it's about what you can actually control. So you can use your keywords in the page title tag, ideally near the start, and in the meta description. I'll jump quickly to the next slide, then jump back. So I mentioned the SERP, or the search engine results page, earlier, and this is what comes up in our search results. So that first line is actually your title tag. Now, the title tag might be the name of your page. So if your page is called About, for example, the title tag by default will probably be About. But the great thing about the title tag, and sometimes it's referred to as the SEO title or page title, is that depending on how your website is built or your content management system that you use, you can actually edit the page title, that SEO title tag, to be different to what people see on the screen. So About is a really good name to actually have on an About page, but About in a search engine result is not going to differentiate your result very much, and is also not going to give the search engine spiders much to go on as well. So actually this is the home page. So by default, I should be using the example home. By default, it might be home, but I've actually edited this to say really clearly our business name and what we provide, digital marketing training courses in Adelaide. So someone can see really quickly who we are, what we do, and where we do it. And then that second line or description is referred to as the meta description or the meta tag. And by default, Google will try and find some content on your page and display that. So there will always be a title and a meta description that Google finds from your website, but you again have the control over that. So you can craft your own specific meta description to give people a great explanation of what it is that you do, because the first line of your website or a bit of content from the page might not always accurately sum it up or compel people to click on it. So I did mention here on that previous screen that the meta description is not actually a ranking factor. So the title tag is a ranking factor, and having that main primary or focus keyword in your title tag is really valuable. The meta description is not, but the meta description is really useful for explaining to people in search why they should click on your link over those other 10 that they can see, those other 10 organic results, maybe some paid results, maybe some maps and other knowledge panel that appears. There's so much that appears in search these days. You've got a short area there where you can sum up your page and why you are the best answer to their search query. So really useful to make use of your keywords in there as well, because you might have noticed when you search for a keyword in Google, often that keyword, if it appears in search results, will be highlighted in bold as well. So it gives that little subtle connection that people make really quickly between that's my keyword. Oh yeah, it's actually bold in that title. Oh, it's bold in that description. I'm going to read that one and our eyes are drawn to it. If possible, it's great if you can use your keywords in your URL separated by hyphens. You may not have control over that, so it's one of those things that you can. If you can, it's great. If you can use your keyword in the heading tag, so if you're using a content management system and you edit your page with what's called a WYSIWYG editor, you'll notice there are some pre-formatted style. So similarly to when you are formatting a Word document, there's some pre-formatted styles which are really great for ensuring that your website looks consistent across, the design is consistent across all the different pages, the same type size, the same color. But those heading tags, those H1, H2, H3, they actually have symbolism and importance to the search engine spiders as well, and it tells them this content is important, so pay more attention to it. So where you can possibly use your keywords in the heading tag, that may be the actual name of your page. So using the about example, it may be about. So it might not be something that you want to try and smush a keyword into, but if not, using other heading tags like H2 and H3 to separate your content as well can be really great. Using your keywords within the body copy of the page, so actually making sure your page describes what it is that you actually do. And a couple of the examples that I use in the training sessions I do of a couple of sites I've worked with, one was actually an accountant, and they were really disappointed that they weren't returning in search results for income tax return. And it turned out that they actually barely used income tax return or even tax return in their website content. They referred to it as return because that's how they spoke. In everyday language, and when they wrote their content, it was like, we can help you file your return at the end of, blah, 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 the year, financial. Clearly, I'm not an accountant. So it's one of those simple things where while Google says build your website for users, not search engines, we do need to explain what it is that we do and not use our own industry language or just lazy terms. So an easy thing you can do is to actually go through your existing pages of your website and review them really critically and say, is there an opportunity here for me to include one of my keywords? I don't need to rewrite my entire page, but can I explain what we do better? So that tax return one was an example, and an easy thing we did was we went through, and every time we found return, we changed it to tax return or income tax return, and if it was relevant, income tax returns in Adelaide, because obviously they were specifically looking at Adelaide. Another one is a yoga studio that I worked with, and they actually didn't use the term yoga a lot throughout their website, which is quite odd. So they talked about their studio, they talked about their classes, they talked about the different styles being foundations and beginner and hot, but they didn't actually use yoga. So most people are not going to be searching for foundations and expecting to find yoga. They might actually be looking for foundations for houses. So going through, and we went through, so everywhere we could possibly include yoga, we made it clear that we were talking about yoga classes in Adelaide, our yoga studio, our foundations yoga, our beginners yoga, our hot yoga in Adelaide. Really easy to go through your website and make those changes to your existing content. I mentioned other heading tags. So heading tags are great for breaking up content on a page as well. With images, so I do have an article on the blog at the moment about optimizing your website with images, and you can use your keywords within the file names of your images. Hyphens separated again, comma separated, hyphens separated within the file names, and also in the alt text field. So alt text is great for accessibility for people who are using screen readers, but it's also used by search engines. So it describes what the image is, and again, if we had a picture of coffee, we could give it some alt text of best coffee in Adelaide, because we think this picture is a picture of the best coffee in Adelaide, or yoga class. This is a picture of our yoga classes in Adelaide. Another area where we can get some of those keywords in. And then even using, if you're creating links between pages or links to your own pages, trying to make sure that anchor text, if possible, includes a keyword. So if we want to write something like, check out our yoga classes in Adelaide, we could actually make yoga classes in Adelaide a link to our classes page. There's a few ways there that you can use your keywords. And I've just mentioned how that relates to the search engine results page. So I'll just wrap up with saying, if you are looking at SEO, don't try to optimize every single page. It can be quite daunting. So start by selecting the most important pages that might have unique keyword topics. So some of the ones that I often look to, first of all, are your homepage. So you want to make sure that your homepage has a really good page title and meta description that describes who you are and what you do, and if location is important to you, where you do it as well. And if there is some opportunity, a lot of homepages these days are actually mainly image-based and a short snippet about lots of things that we do. So there's not a lot of text on there itself. So but do look through and see where you can possibly describe what it is that you do a bit more descriptively. The About page is a really good one. About page is really good for either trying to optimize for your brand name, though I do often focus my brand name optimization on homepage, but About page might be brand name, or maybe a more generic description of your services, because it's that overarching page. So rather than trying to focus on the specifics of what you do, so for me, it might be digital marketing training in Adelaide is more about what we do on the About page. And then look at your main product or service pages. So you might have some landing pages there that you can focus on. So if it's the different types of coffee beans, the coffee beans, coffee products, they might go into different focuses there, or looking at services, something like income tax returns. If you do income tax returns in Adelaide, having a page that's called Income Tax Returns Adelaide, it makes it really easy to optimize for that. Your contact page can be a good one from a location perspective. And then other types of content, particularly things like blog posts and case studies, are really great for producing regular content that either answer those keyword related questions or allow you to use those related keywords. So they might not be specifically related to what people are actually looking for, but like I showed you with my keyword group example, it could be providing people some tips with how to optimize your website, and having that blog post as a bit of a lead in for people who may be interested in training in the future. So SEO, it is a marathon, it's not a sprint. I encourage you to commit to doing it, and just like in Field of Dreams, for those of you who may remember it, if you build it, they will come. It may take some time, but it's very worthwhile understanding the fundamentals of SEO and ensuring that your website gives a really great summary of who you are and what you do, not just to the search engine spiders, but also to the users, or the people rather, who come to your website and hopefully keep coming back to your website as well, and making sure that they're the right kind of people who are really engaged with your content. So that was a really quick summary of the ABC of SEO. If you are interested in learning more about SEO, we do provide SEO training. So we have a couple of workshops coming up in the next couple of months. We have a full day session, Introduction to SEO Best Practices, which goes through in a lot more detail some of what I've talked about today and a lot more. So we go into specifically those keyword research techniques, using those tools, and the specific content optimization techniques, as well as a couple of technical optimization techniques. And we jump into your website and look at where you can make those meta description updates, page title updates, and those types of things as well. And I've got a few useful templates and tools that can help with the keyword research planning, creating those keyword groups, and writing your optimized content as well. So that's on Tuesday the 26th of March, and we do have an early bird price available at the moment, which is available until the 11th of March. And then in May, we've got our further SEO techniques workshops. That's just a half day, and we do focus a lot more on content optimization, technical optimization in that workshop there. So if you're looking at taking your SEO that little bit further and a bit more technically minded, that's a great session to come along to as well. And again, early bird prices available there. Those workshops are both on our website, scoutdigitaltraining.com.au, and there are links in the offers section below these slides. If you scroll down, you can link straight through and see those workshops on our website and have a read through. And if you've got any questions about them, please feel free to let me know. I do answer the chat and the emails personally, and am available to chat through on the phone with you if you've got any questions about those. They are just in Adelaide at the moment, but if anybody's listening from interstate and is keen to have me come over and run a session, I'm keen to, so do let me know. So thank you. Thank you very much. I know I've gone a few minutes over, so thank you for staying on board. Like I mentioned, a recording of this video will be available to you all following this session. We did cover a lot very, very quickly. So if you do want to watch it back later on and revisit some of those areas, then that replay will be available for you as well. Otherwise, if you are interested in delving a lot deeper into SEO and really getting that good grounding in what the best practices are that you can use on your own website, I'd love to see you at the workshop. So thanks very much for your time this afternoon. If anybody does have any questions, I will hang around on the chat for about a couple of minutes, and I'm happy to answer any questions there for you as well. So thanks again. Bye.